I watched on a plane one time one of those traveling pants, the movies they made of them. I just said that out loud, didn't I?
Those are good quality
I don't think there's anything wrong with that, Nick. You're okay. It's all right.
Welcome to the Two Authors Chat Show, an entertaining podcast with two best-selling authors connecting readers with an eclectic array of distinguished guests through lively conversation and interviews. Hosted by mystery, suspense and thriller writers Douglas Pratt and Nicholas Harvey.
Welcome to the show, everyone. How you doing today, Mr. Nick?
I'm good. I'm excellent. We're back in the Keys.
Back in the Keys? How nice. How nice. I'm back in Memphis, so.
Yeah. All right, let's get rolling. Let's do a listener question because this one is funny. This is from Jason Harley from Milton, Virginia. If your book or your books were a flavor of ice cream, what would it taste like and why?
I'm going to say salted caramel. Maybe because I think salt is seawater, so it's got the saltiness, but there's a little bit of sweetness, like it's fun to read. And then caramely because it gets stuck in your teeth and it'll annoy you in a little bit too, so.
So let's see. It's seawater. What was the middle bit? What was that jargon you came up with?
It was sweet, like
sweet.
Yeah, caramel sweet. Yeah, but it also it's like chewy, and you get like when you like chomp on a caramel, and you got like it starts sticking into the little crevices of your teeth, and then you're like trying to roll your tongue around to pull it out and stuff like that. That get kind of like annoying. So you still get the flavor of it later on, but you're like, why am I still tasting this? That's probably the way my books are.
Boy, I don't know. I mean, some people would say they taste like curry ice cream.
All right, first of all, First of all, I don't know what y'all eat in Britain, but curry ice cream sounds disgusting.
Well, I Googled what's the weirdest flavor
This is why we rebelled against y'all, man. Curry ice cream.
Yeah, look what you did with the place. So, I'm wearing that line out. But I have to say I cheated. I very quickly Googled what's the weirdest flavor of ice cream, and curry was one of the top ones. So I'm like, that's a pretty weird one. I don't know. I think I'd go, for me, it would be cookie dough because I love cookie dough ice cream and I love writing my books. Let's just say that.
That's good.
Because I'd hate to say I love reading my books because that sounds very pretentious. But there again, my wife hates cookie dough ice cream. So I shouldn't say that because she at least pretends to like my books.
That's fair.
And she's pretty consistent in pretending that because she reads everything and she's my first line reader. So if she doesn't like them, she's putting in a lot of effort to hide the fact she doesn't.
Well, I mean, in fairness, my wife puts in a lot of effort to hide the fact that she's okay with living with me. So I guess
she tolerates you. Yeah, it really tolerates. I think tolerates a win, actually.
You know what? Hey, I say I am always grateful for the kindness and generosity of women.
Absolutely. Yeah, especially our wives.
Especially my wife. So, well, this week, we'll move on because we could talk ice cream like all day long, I'm sure. But this week, we got Kiersten Modglin on today, who is a phenomenal standalone thriller writer. So not a series like we do. She's writing books with brand new characters every time. Like, how does she come up with all those names? That's mind-boggling to me.
That's a good point. We have to come up with the names of all the villains and the new people that come into our stories, but she has to start from scratch on everybody.
But whatever it is, she's doing it because she is like the Amazon top 10 best-selling author of psychological thrillers. She is killing it. And she is crushing the charts, and her latest releases are now available wide on all booksellers. So let's welcome Kiersten to the show.
Kiersten, welcome to our show.
Welcome.
Thank you, guys. I'm so excited to be here.
Okay, so the first order of business is, can we call you K-Mod?
Of course you can. I would love that.
You made
we
his
are
day.
So not hip. Yeah, we're not hip and cool at all. So now we feel just a little bit hip.
Well, some of us aren't hip. Some of us are pretty cool. So.
So I grew up, obviously my name is Kiersten, and I didn't have a nickname, and all my sisters had names that you could make into nicknames, and I hated it. I tried to make my name a nickname so many ways, and actually my readers came up with Kmod and started calling me it, and so I was like, that is my nickname, I'm taking it, I'm claiming it, and
That's
so I love
awesome.
it.
We had Gillian Dodd on a couple of shows ago, and she has the Dodd Squad, I think it is.
Yeah, she did. Yeah, they were down in Florida with her. Yes.
And you have the Kmod Squad. So we think there should be some kind of like
a fight.
Yeah.
Street fight.
There's got to be you got to meet in the ring somewhere. And the two squads have to, actually, you're both sweethearts,
Yes.
so you shouldn't do that.
Let the readers do it. That's all right. So it's what we do.
We just join the squads and make it a huge squad.
Oh, yes. That'd be cool. That'd be awesome.
That would be a lot of people. All right. So give us a little bit of a synopsis on your background and how you got into writing.
Yeah. So I have been writing all my life. I grew up writing short stories and poems and novels. I wrote my first novel in 4th grade.
Ooh, what?
Yeah, I called it The Life and Times of the Three Potatoes.
What?
And I had a classmate draw me a cover, and I had it hanging on my wall forever. So this has always been my dream. I love writing, and I started.
I want to read that book.
I know, right? It was my take on, I don't know if you guys have heard of this, the Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you remember that? Yeah. So I read those books as a kid and loved them, and made my own stories out of those. So yeah, I've always done it. And then I grew up like getting into high school, and I would go home every summer and write a novel and bring it back to school. And I had like teachers and students by the end of my high school journey waiting to read my book, and I would like print it out on printer paper and bring it. And I started like a library where I only had one copy.
Wow.
So I would just like mark somebody off the list and take it to the next person. So I've always kind of done things my own way and wanted to do this. And I started publishing in 2016. I was 22. So pretty much right out of the gate after I graduated high school. And yeah, it's been an amazing 7-year whirlwind journey. I love what I do. I love being able to write and then connect with readers. And obviously I do it as an indie, and I'm so proud of that. And I have, 2 traditional books. So I've gotten to kind of dip my toes in that world, but I love it.
That's awesome. Yes. So yeah, it's the best job in the world, isn't it? It really is.
It absolutely is.
It's amazing.
What is it? Cap Daniel says we get to play with our imaginary friends all day.
Yes.
What could be better?
Yeah.
Exactly.
I watched on a plane one time one of those traveling pants, the movies they made of them. I just said that out loud, didn't I?
Those are good quality.
I don't think there's anything wrong with that, Nick. You're okay. It's all right, Mr. Race car driver over here going, hey,
I mean, it was on and someone else was watching it.
So it's okay.
You caught a few minutes.
Yes. Hey, speaking of race car driving, you're in Nashville, correct?
I am, yeah.
Did you go to the IndyCar race there this summer?
No.
Oh.
Don't take away my Nashville card.
It's called the Indy car. It's Indianapolis. You're okay, so don't worry about it. You just remind them.
I'm not into sports of any kind, so I don't know anything about that.
No, it's good. I don't either. I'm not that far from you. I mean, I'm down here in Memphis, so we're practically neighbors. So we're fellow Tennesseans. So.
Well, I know a little bit about it. I know about it because I used to work in racing, but also my brother was part of the group that built the track because it's a downtown track and they have to cordon off the streets and put all the barriers and fencing in. And he was part of the group that does the track design and all the safety stuff. So he was in your town for about 6 weeks doing all that, putting it up and taking it down.
So what do you have a few books out. How many books do you have altogether?
So I have 40, and I'm actually today or tomorrow going to do the cover reveal for my 41st book. So by the time this comes out, I'll have 41.
Oh, so what was that's impressive. Yeah. So what's your latest book? What's this new one coming out about?
So the new one that's coming out is called Do Not Open, and it's a thriller. It's kind of like a little bit my take on Misery by Stephen King. It's, an author that is kind of taken by her number one fan. And so I've really been obsessed with the idea of that for a long time. Misery is one of my favorite books. I didn't take anything from it. It's just that premise, obviously.
Oh, right,
but I just love the idea of it's kind of our worst fear as authors, right? You never know what you're walking into when you go to signings or certain things. And so I just thought it'd be fun to have that. So yeah, the premise is a famous author that gets taken hostage by her number one fan. And it's super fun.
It's something that Nick and I probably don't worry as much about as some of our female author friends have to think about it. No, and it's kind of scary in respect. So it's kind of cool. It's interesting.
Maybe we were in danger in Florida because we had a gathering of the tropical authors all right in the same genre at a restaurant, and some people came by to see us. So I didn't think that we were in danger.
No, I wasn't. I mean, other than having too much to drink, that was about the only thing I was in danger of doing.
I don't think we were in danger. All right, so Hemlock is the latest release that came out, and it did like ridiculously well.
It was amazing. Yeah, my readers, this was my first book. So typically I release books in Kindle Unlimited. And I just recently decided to take all my books onto the other platforms. And so I was really unsure how this release would do. And my readers showed up and were amazing. And it was my first book to ever be #1 in a pre-order period. So that was incredible. Yeah. But yeah, I was really excited and I loved the story. So it was extra special that they showed out for me the way they did.
Well, very cool. I'd love to talk to you about the story in Hemlock, but I didn't read it because I read You Can Trust Me, because back when we first started talking, you were going to come on the show before we canceled on you or postponed on you, and then you had to postpone on us. But I read that, and it's exciting. I actually am allergic to cruise ships because there's lots of people on it, and I don't do well in crowds. But if I ever was thinking about going on a cruise ship, that sold me on not doing it.
See, I like cruise ships, and I actually enjoyed the whole thing. So that was just.
I like to tell my readers, I'm like, I'm just trying to ruin all of your vacation options, so you have to stay in the house and read. That's all I'm doing.
That's true.
So I'm slowly working my way through all the terrible vacations.
So what's next? What's the next vacation you plan to ruin for anybody?
Scuba diving. Don't ruin scuba diving, please, because I have a whole scuba diving audience.
I'd have to learn all about scuba diving first, so I think that's safe for a while. I've done islands, I've done cabins, I've done cruise ships. I really don't know. The next book that I'm writing is about a group of book influencers that go on a get together and bad things happen. So now I'm just ruining book people getting together.
Like we're going to get the TikTokers. That's what we're going to go after.
Well, that leads us right in. Exactly. You're a TikToker, which I'm sure isn't a term, but because I don't know crap about TikTok. I was on there for like 2 weeks. And then I'm like, oh, God, this is just draining. This is killing me. But you have an enormous following on TikTok. Do you know?
Yeah, I have about 69,000 followers or something, which is the most I have on any platform. It's amazing. But honestly, those followers came from like 3 viral videos. So I'm definitely not, a superstar over there. But I got on TikTok. My sister is younger than me and was like, you have to get on TikTok. It's so cool. And I was like, no, this looks terrible. And I finally got on it just to kind of play around and watch videos and do all the things. And I started trying to follow the trends, and it did not go well for a long time. But then it just kind of worked for 3 of my videos. There was a trend that went around for a while where you would kind of, tell the plot of your book as if it was happening to you. And then at the end be like, just kidding. This is, my fictional story. Check it out. And I had 3 in 2021 that got over 1 million views. One had 3 million in 24 hours.
Oh, wow.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah. And so those all did really well, sent my books way up the charts. And that's where the followers came from. And then now I'm really bad at it. Like, I just get on there and do silly stuff. I don't really follow the trends like I should. But I like TikTok. Like, I can get on there, but it's a total time suck for me. Like, I can get on there for 5 minutes and then 6 hours go by. So I have to be very diligent about when I spend my time on there. And really, my husband has more time for it. So I'm like, you tell me what the trends are and we'll do them. And we kind of go from there. But I think TikTok, like, you have to enjoy it to want to do it and to have any success with it. But I think if you get on there and just like do the trends and have fun with it, it can be exciting. I think for readers too, because it gives them a chance to really see us like in our daily lives and being silly, and where like Instagram and Facebook, it's kind of more polished and professional, and TikTok's just very laid back, I guess.
It's us sitting at the bar kind of a thing. Yeah, I get that.
Yeah,
cool.
Yeah.
Oh, we could video ourselves sitting at the bar. We could do that. If that will work on TikTok, I'm all over TikTok.
Your readers would love it.
People want to see me drinking. They can see that.
Actually, I tell Nick all the time. He does all his. I mean, he was diving and everything in Bon Air. He has all these great videos. They make great TikTok. I mean, people would eat that up, I think. But this is my opinion. I don't know.
Yeah, TikTok's all about like being authentic and just showing. Like, people will just do videos where they're eating breakfast and talking, and it works. I don't really know what the appeal is, but everybody loves it. So yeah.
So like, your genre mostly is thriller. I mean, kind of standalone thrillers, right? Since you're ruining everybody's vacations. So is that what you read, or do you read other things?
Yeah, so I read standalone psychological thrillers. I also read some romance, but typically standalone psychological and domestic thrillers. So I kind of got into this genre reading more of the crime, the detective stories. Lisa Reagan. I loved, Mark Edwards. I love Mark Edwards. Mark Dawson. I really started reading all of that, and then I read Gone Girl, and fell in love with that side of things before I'd started publishing. And so my first book is actually a legal thriller because that was kind of what I was reading, more of that side of things. And then I just absolutely loved Gone Girl, and I was like, I want to write books like this. And so since then, now I just really focus on reading the psych thrillers. And yeah, and I love standalone. I think, I don't know, I really like to jump into stories and not trust anyone. And so I try to give my readers
That's good. That's
that,
good. I like that.
Exactly. Yeah. I think it's cool to just jump in and you don't know what's going on. You don't know where you are, and you're just having fun with it. And I also write so many books and so quickly that I want to be able to keep myself entertained. And I find myself getting bored if I'm in the same world for too long.
That was going to be my next question. So that's interesting because, I mean, you break a lot of rules. If there's guidelines and rules of how to go about the indie author thing, number one is you write series. So if you get a reader interested in the characters, they stay aboard. So it's more, you started not writing series more because you want the interest for yourself of having different characters and different worlds every time.
Yeah, so I didn't know any of the rules, first of all, when I first started. I was just writing what I love to read. And then as I kind of got into it and I went to more conferences and talked to more indie authors, and they were like, you have to write series. That's why you're not doing well. And so I wrote a series. I wrote a 4-book series, and I hated it. I loved the books, loved the stories, but the actual process was so grueling for me because I felt like I was going back so much to like make everything tie in and try and remember things. And so I was just like, I'm going to just keep writing what I love, because this 4-book series did not, break out for me. And yeah, I really have broken all the rules in terms of what you're supposed to do. But luckily, I mean, by book like 17, it started catching on, and readers have found me. But it definitely could have been quicker with a series, maybe.
Well, so that leads me, as somebody who writes in a series, I'm curious how do readers, how are they appealed to, or how do you appeal to them and keep them coming back for the next one? Like, mine, I leave a cliffhanger, or I throw a little bone out about the series, but to get somebody to come back when they don't know any of the characters, you're investing in you, I guess. So.
Yeah, so that's exactly right. I always tell people, other authors who ask, if you don't write series, your brand is your series. And so that's how I look at it. I think very much that my books all have to fit my brand. They have to have certain like cornerstones. They're all very twisted. They all tend to lean very domestic, husband and wife, or a group of friends. So yeah, I think that all of those like key points are still in there, just like they would be a series. All the twists and the unpredictable stories, and I always say there's no twist too crazy for me. So I like to have the wild, unexpected last page twist at the end. And so I think that's what keeps readers coming back, is they know, what to expect in my books, even though they're not series. They know they can pick it up. It's typically under 300 pages. They can fly through it in a day. It's going to be really twisty. And I also think my genre really lends itself to standalones. Like I said, this is mostly what I read, and it's almost all standalone stories. So I think the readers that love psych thrillers really like standalones too. So it makes it, a little bit easier.
Are you a plotter or a pantser?
I'm a plotter for sure, but very light plotting. So I started out a pantser and then have figured out that I work faster if I plot. But my plots are generally like by chapter, and it's just like 1 or 2 sentences. So chapter 1, Sarah meets John. Chapter 2, Sarah kills John. Chapter 3, and then we're going from there.
Poor
I don't get very deep into it. I know.
Yeah.
John just had it coming.
Yeah, John probably deserved.
Exactly.
So do you have to have a certain amount plotted out before you start actually writing the book, or are you okay doing like the first sort of third and then you dive in and start writing, or?
Yeah, so I typically like to have the full book plotted. There have been a few books, including the one that I'm working on right now, where I don't have that. I can't figure it out, and the only way for me to figure it out is to go through it. And so I'll get as much as I can plot it. And then when I hit the point where I'm like, if I keep plotting, it's just going to be made up garbage that I'm not going to use. Then I'll just kind of stop and I'm like, let's start writing and figure out what's going on, who your characters are. And then that helps me. And then typically if I do it that way, I won't plot the rest of the book. I'll just kind of have that idea in my head.
So how often do those twists surprise you? How often have you had the whole book plotted and you go along and suddenly you go, well, I didn't see that twist coming at all. And you're like in the book completely different.
Those are the best twists. I always say I like to write as the reader. And so I try to write the story. And as I'm going, if this is what I would be guessing, and then I'm going to go the opposite way. So almost always there's at least one or two twists that surprise me that as I'm writing, I'm like, oh, this would be too obvious. So let's go this way. Or, ooh, this would be really interesting. But I plot my books from the twist out. So I typically figure out what I want the main twist to be. And then I build the story around that. So most often I already know the big twist. It's just all the little twists that will surprise me. I think maybe out of the 40 books, one or two books have actually been like the big twist has changed too.
It is amazing talking to authors at the conferences and in the show and then the groups that we're in and what have you. There's such a range of techniques between plotting and pantsing, which means writing by the seat of your pants, which means you don't plan anything out, which I don't buy, honestly. Anyone that says I completely pants, no, they've been thinking it. They just haven't written it down. They're still plotting in their heads. They've got an idea of where they're going or where it is to a certain extent. But it is, there's no perfect answer. There's no like wrong answer. You know what I mean? Everything works. There's some fantastic books out there written in every way, shape or form. So talking about rules, one of the other rules, there's certain things that you check these boxes if you're an indie author and that everyone says, hey, don't make your own covers. But K-Mod makes all her own covers.
Yeah, so I will say I did not start out making my own covers. I started out hiring someone. But again, it took me until like 17 books to even break even on my releases. And so I kind of hit a point where I was like, if I want to keep doing this, I have to figure out ways to save money or this publishing like business that I've started is not going to work. And so I didn't have, a huge amount of money to throw into the career because I just kept losing money. And so what I did was I was like, I'm going to teach myself how to cut corners everywhere I can. And so I taught myself how to format my books and I taught myself how to design my own covers. And I still obviously have always paid for editing. But those were the two places where I was like, I can figure this out. I had a tiny background in graphic design because I had done photography for a few years. So I knew my way around photo editing and that sort of thing, but I still was not very good at it. And so what I did was I would hire a designer to design my cover, and then I would design a cover. And until I felt like my cover matched up to theirs, I would just use their cover. And then when I finally felt like, okay, my cover matches and seems like it's good a quality, I would start using mine. And then I went back and recovered all of my old ones so that all of my designs are mine now, except for my two traditional books. But yeah, it was really just a cost saving thing for me to try and be able to keep publishing at the rate that I was. But it's been something really great now. And I love that I have the ability to go in and make audiobook covers now really easily with the designs that I've already created and all of that. So it's definitely made it easier, and formatting too, being able to go in and update things. And it's really nice. So I'm glad I did it.
As a thriller writer, what do you think makes a good thriller anyway? What is it you're looking for in a thriller?
For me, as a reader especially, but also as a writer, I want it to start from page one. I want to jump in immediately and be sucked in. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that the action has to start on page one, or we have to, I have a book that starts with someone being buried alive. So all my books don't start that dramatic, but I think that you have to be invested from page one. So you have to, have something really exciting happen, have something really interesting or strange happen right from the get-go. And then I think you just have to keep that pace up. I know a lot of people, I've been at conferences and on panels where people are like, you have to have some scenes or chapters that are kind of just letting the reader breathe. And I'm like, no.
Yeah.
I don't believe in that. If there's ever a point when a reader says, this is a good chapter for me to put it down and go to bed, then I have failed. So I like my books to start from page one and be fast-paced and unputdownable the whole way through. And then I think, especially now, you have to have a huge twist. And it's kind of hard as a writer, to keep up and always have the best twist. There used to be really great stories that didn't really have twists at all. They were just interesting thrillers. But I think readers expect it now. And even, myself as a reader, I feel like you have to have some big twist in there, at least one. I would like multiple.
That's got to be tough. Keep coming up with these. I mean, you're writing a lot of books. So you've got to come up with different ways of kind of making a new twist.
Exactly. Yeah. It can only be like the husband so many times before readers are like, we get it.
With 40 some odd books, do you ever get to a point where you're like, I think I did that back in like 4 or something like that? Is that ever like, or do you worry since you don't have a series? Is it like, well, it's okay if if the husband did it twice?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely have done similar twists or not necessarily twists, but similar tactics in my stories. And sometimes it happens that readers read like my 4th book and my 18th book have the same similar twist, and they'll read them both like back to back. And they're like, are all of your books like, do they all have the same twist? And I'm like, no.
We just stamp them out. That's all we do. Yes.
Yeah. Bad timing on that. So yeah, I think that there's only so many things you can do, and as long as you're putting them in different situations and trying to mix it up with different characters and different personalities, like you can still make it interesting and keep a reader guessing. But yeah, it's definitely hard to keep things. And I think the biggest thing for me is always making sure my premises are really unique. So I don't ever want to write the same story twice, and that's really, really important for me. So while I feel like I can only twist the story certain ways and keep it believable, if I have, like I said earlier, I have an island story and I have, a cruise ship story, and I have stories of readers locked in cabins and murder mystery dinners and all of these things, that's what keeps it interesting. And then you can play around with the twists and mix and match and all of that. So I really try and do it that way.
Cool. Yes. And how often are you releasing books? How many books are you putting out a year?
I do 6 a year, so one every other month.
Wow.
My Lord. I guess I'm doing 6. Well, but I'm not really. I'm doing 4 a year and then some other working with other people on the card. That's an enormous amount of writing.
Well, you're doing basically the same, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's...
Not quite.
Almost.
Yeah. How long are your books generally?
So they average about 60,000 words. So 250 to 300 pages. I have, like, Hemlock was over 400. Yeah, over 400. I think it was like 96,000 words or something. And then I have my most popular is The Arrangement, and it is like 52,000 words, 220 pages or something like that. So I really range. Like I'm very much just whatever the story needs. I don't try to meet certain word counts or make them longer just to fit that. But on average, 60,000 is kind of where I fall.
Cool. So coming up, you said you're just doing the cover for your next one that's coming out. So is that going on pre-order? Do you do pre-orders?
Yeah. I'm doing, after I get off this with you guys, actually, I'll be uploading it and getting everything ready for a cover reveal tomorrow.
That's awesome.
Well, I hope we haven't killed your creative juices. We have a habit of...
No.
People are stumped after they leave us.
Not at all.
Cool. And when will that come out?
So it'll release on Halloween. So it's going to be a very spooky story. I feel like Halloween is the perfect time. So yeah, I'm very excited. And like I said, the cover reveal is tomorrow, the 28th of September. So we're going to have a month-long pre-order, and so thrilled about it. I can't wait.
And then after that, are you doing something for Christmas?
So I don't ever do Christmas books because my audiobook publisher, I would be getting it to them too late to promote a Christmas book. So just because of timing, that doesn't ever work. But I will probably have a book out at Christmas. It just won't be Christmas themed. But the book that I'm writing now will probably release around Christmas. All
right. Well, we're going to wrap up with one little silly thing that we do. I know you think we're faking this, but we're not.
See,
look,
he
has
a
wheel.
Real wheel.
I love it.
So...
we got to come up with some new questions to go on
the
wheel.
I was thinking that. I was planning to leave this wheel with you at Nink so you could carry it around for a little bit.
You forgot about that.
I did. Yeah. I know. Son of a bitch. Hey, let's go. Let me try that again. I didn't spin as well as I wanted to. We want the nice. What do you think is the worst cartoon character?
Oh, the worst cartoon character? Maybe Mr. Krabs on SpongeBob? Is that a good answer? I don't know. He was so greedy, and I was not allowed to watch SpongeBob growing up. Actually, my mom hated that show. So it was like when my parents weren't home, that was my like bad thing. I was like watching SpongeBob illegally.
I was gonna say, my 30-year-old son, he like loves SpongeBob was his favorite. And all my kids were like Spongebob and Mr. Krabs, and they quote him all the time. And I hated SpongeBob. It wasn't the worst show, but it was So
I'm 29, so I'm their age, and my mom hated it. I feel like he was so greedy and mean, and then SpongeBob was just trying to do his job. So maybe that's a good answer.
So K-Mod doesn't like crabs.
So sorry.
Wow.
Can we title the show?
K-Mod doesn't. No, it gives it away at the end, but yeah. So I'll be like,
spoiler alert.
All right, this has been brilliant. Thank you so much, Kiersten, for joining us.
Thank you guys for having me. So much fun.
Thank you so much, K-Mod. I feel like we're part of like this clicky group now. I feel like I was never in a clicky group in school, so I feel like I'm in one now.
Feel like you're in one now? You're included?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I'm hanging with
awesome.
K-Mod.
That's cool.
Yeah. That's cool. What we're doing. We're with K-Mod.
It's in Harv and K-Mod. There we go.
So what are we? You're D-Pratt?
D-Pratt. Mine doesn't change at all, so...
D-Pratt.
I was just like, Naharv.
It doesn't work.
It doesn't, no. D. Pratt worked out fine. I've always been D. Pratt. Everybody's like, initial D. Pratt. Yeah, most of them, half the people I know just call me Pratt. That's it. So, how about what's going on in your world, in Harv? What you been up to?
Well, I got to hang with a super cool guy this week at the NINC conference. Yeah. Mr. D. Pratt was there, along with a group of other trop authors. It was really cool. There was a big turnout for our gang, and we had this amazing dinner one night where we all went to Doc Ford's, which is a restaurant chain owned by Randy Wayne White. It was so cool, man. He couldn't be there. He's actually somewhere else in Florida.
Like writing real books.
Actually writing and, making money and stuff. And they FaceTimed in on like an iPad and passed him around the whole table. And he said hi to everybody. It was really an honor to virtually meet the guy at least, which was very cool. And if we actually get our crap together next year and organize that a little earlier, we'll make a bigger event out of it. So we had a couple of readers show up. We didn't, we kind of put some stuff on social right before, but if we do a better run of that beforehand, Nick Sullivan put this together, and Nick did a super job of putting this together kind of in a few weeks. So, and the staff and the food and everything was great. It was a lot of fun.
Thoroughly impressed with the food. I thought it was delicious. I had like a grouper. It was darn good. So it was cool. No, yeah, we enjoyed it. I had a great time hanging out with you. And I should tell, we have a game that we play that we never win, which is let's go in a bookstore and see if we find my book in a bookstore that we've never been in before.
Yeah.
On the way back from Florida, we stopped at this bookstore in Perry, Florida, where I was walking around the bookstore and I see a book by me and I see a book by Nicholas Harvey and Wayne Stinnett and a few other, David Behrens, a few other people that we know that were from that group. It was kind of surreal to do that. So that's kind of cool.
You fully geeked out. It was cool.
I was like, wow. I was like,
sending pictures and like, look what I found.
You don't find them in the wild very often in the middle of nowhere. Perry, Florida's kind of small. What else is going on with you, so?
Well, the NINC thing, it was a good conference. So it's an industry author conference, and it's a mixture of the business side and creative side, but always good to meet people. We talked about quite a few great authors about coming on the podcast. So we've got some exciting people
we had a few
lined up for the next few months.
Past guests who hung out with us, Miss Jillian Dodd and Nick Sullivan and a few others that were hanging around. L.T. Ryan, yes, I'm sure.
I'm missing somebody else too. There was, who else was there? Oh, AJ Stewart.
Wayne Stinnett. Yeah, we had a whole bunch of them there. It was kind of fun.
Yeah, and then I've got, so I'm in the Keys, and we have the AJ Bailey Dive Adventure 2023 coming up Friday and Saturday, where readers who are divers are coming out. Yeah, we chartered a boat for 2 days with Conch Republic divers, who Ashley there's been fantastic at helping me organize all this thing. And today I was up there putting together the swag bags, and we got shirts for the event, signed. My first time I've had hardcover dust jacket books of mine. I got to say, pretty darn cool having a dust jacket.
Quick question though for you: which is cooler, the cool dust jacket, or the fact that Conch Republic completely wrapped their boat with AJ's Mermaid Divers logo?
That is pretty freaking cool. So Conch Republic have 2 dive boats in there, and one of their dive boats actually got hold of me and said, we're going to call it the Mermaid Diver. Is it okay with you? Because it's AJ Bailey's fictional dive operation in the Cayman Islands. I'm like, of course it's okay with me. I mean, no way, you don't have to really ask, it's not copyrighted. But yeah, I'm honored. And then I said, and if you want to use the logo or anything like that she uses, she goes, oh, can I? And I'm like, yeah. So they had this wrap done for the boat that features the mermaid and anchor and from her logo.
You need to put it on Facebook and put it in the show notes because I can see it. It really was I was like, wow, I'm jealous. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, I went by when we got here yesterday. We'd only been here a couple of days since we came from Nink, and we went by there, Cheryl and I, and took a look at it, and I'm taking pictures of it. I was completely geeking out.
I bet, yeah. That's pretty awesome. So, well,
yeah. So what about you? What you been doing?
Also, I just drove back. I took a little longer getting down to Nink and driving back from Nink, so I kind of did some relaxing and vacationing on the side. But yeah, had a good time. Did some dolphin cruises, which was kind of fun. But also, I'll share an embarrassing story, which I've already told you about. But the listeners, I mean, at this point, you already know. I'm not the most full of shame. I've got plenty of shame to pass around to everybody. But in our conference, we're following up. Actually, going to speak with our guest next week, who's going to be with us. I realized that I was turning around behind Nick, who's standing at this table, and I realized that my zipper is down. And as I do so, the open zipper catches the edge of the chair where a group of ladies were sitting, and I just dragged the chair away from the table, attached to my crotch. And this one young lady who I was too ashamed to go back and talk to her and apologize. She and I locked eyes, and she knew, and I knew. And it was an embarrassing feat where I was like, well, that's what it is. So
all I knew was I'm talking to Jamie Albright, who I'd spoken to email, and I'd spoken to actually online on some forum. So I'm like introducing myself, and I'm like, hey, it's great to meet you in person. And this is Doug. And I turn around, and there's no Doug. Doug's gone. I'm like, he evaporated.
I had to melt away. It was like I could either zip up in front of the woman who'd already watched me just humiliate myself, or turn around and zip up in front of either way. It leads me to a question. So for guys, like having your zipper down, that's embarrassing. What is the female equivalent to having your zipper down? Is there one? I mean, ladies.
Are you asking me?
I'm asking
Why
you.
Are you asking me?
I don't know, because you're the only person here with me. I would have asked Kiersten, but she would probably have never come back. So, all right, ladies out there, I just need to know, what is the female equivalent of, getting caught with your zipper down?
I would imagine it's being caught with your zipper down.
It might be. I suppose so. I suppose they do.
I mean, they have
zippers on.
They have lady parts. We have guy parts, and they have lady parts.
Right.
Yeah, you'll learn this as you get older. And the especially if you keep dragging people around.
Do tell a little more about how I'll learn. What will I learn about this kind of thing? Can you have the talk with me?
Okay. Our guest on our next show.
Yes, our guest next week.
Yeah, is going to be a romantic comedy author who we already mentioned, Jamie Albright, who was spared the embarrassment of meeting Doug with his fly open.
Yes, that's true, yes. Jamie should be very grateful for that, I guess. So we're looking forward to having her on.
Yeah, she's a lovely lady. I can't wait to have her on the show. And then please remember to subscribe to the show. Check out the show notes. We got loads of show notes for K-Mad, because she's like everywhere. And remember, if you do the TikToking thing, she's all over it. And what else we got?
Follow our social media. Links. Like us on Facebook.
Social media.
Yes. We're on Twitter, but we don't do much. But, we're definitely on Facebook. We love Facebook. So.
Yeah, I'm about down to only doing Facebook. I copied some stuff over to Instagram, but then Facebook's kind of where I'm at.
Look for our new episodes every 2 weeks. Until then,
be cool to each other.
Fair winds and following seas.
You've been listening to the Two Authors Chat Show with Nicholas Harvey and Douglas Pratt.